So the end of year is upon us, and I promised you a few months ago that I would give you my definitive list, top 5 films of 2010, and I've done it. And I have to say that this year it was really hard. Not hard because it was difficult to find 5 great films. On the contrary, it was hard because it was difficult to pull out the 5 best, because there were so many movies this year that I really loved. I know I have a reputation for going off on one and ranting about films that I don't like, but looking back at the releases of this year, it's astonishing just how many truly great films there were. As an example, let me show you some of the films that didn't make it into my top 5. Social Network, David Fincher, which is many people regard as going to be a big best film contender at the Oscars. Loved the film, not in the top 5. Oil City Confidential, a Dr. Feelgood documentary, which was well in there halfway through the year, but now it's been knocked out of the top 5, but I still love it. I think it's a fabulous piece of work. Skeletons isn't in there. Restrepo isn't in there. Kick-Ass isn't in there. And that's a very interesting film, because actually at one point I kind of figured that that was definitely going to be a top 5 contender, having missed it out of the first list, but now it's been pushed out at the last minute. The Arbor isn't in there. Eyes Wide Open isn't in there. Another Year isn't there. These are all movies which didn't make it into the top 5, and they're all great movies. I'd love to have them in the top 5, but unfortunately, in the end, I had to cut to the chase. So, I know in advance, as I give you this top 5, you're going to be going, no, you've left this out, and where's that? There's not room for everything. I'm sure you'll have your own list. Please feel free to post it here. This is my list. The difference between my list and your list is that I'm right. At number 5, Chico and Rita. I mean, no surprises there. At the beginning of the year, I thought that Ponyo was going to be very, very hard to top. Princess and the Frog I really loved, returned to hand-drawn Disney animation. Then along came Chico and Rita, a beautiful animation directed by Fernando Trueba, who made The Mad Monkey, which I'm a big, big fan of, designed by Javier Mariscal, with wonderful jazz music, but most importantly, a real proper old-fashioned love story. Beautifully drawn characters, drawn in every way. Something that reminded you just how adult animation could be. I don't mean adult in the kind of Fritz the Cat heavy traffic way. I mean adult as in grown up. A proper love story, beautifully told and with wonderful music. Straight in at number 5, Chico and Rita. At number 4, Made in Dagenham. Loved it the first time I saw it. Loved it the second time I saw it. Loved it even more the third time I saw it. See, the thing with Made in Dagenham for me is this. I thought it did a brilliant job of balancing the importance of its political story, equal pay, equal rights for women, with the demands of mainstream cinema. And when I saw it, I was convinced it was going to be this year's Full Monty. I thought it was wonderful. People are just going to flock to see that film the same way they did with Full Monty. It's going to be a big hit in America. Everyone's going to love it, and everyone's going to watch the story, and they're going to learn something about history. Now, as you probably know, didn't work out like that. But for me, the fault is not with the film. I really, really like it, and every time I see it, I just like it more. Made in Dagenham, number 4. At number 3, now this may be a bit of a surprise, because this was always a top 2 contender. Toy Story 3. Now, I think that the Toy Story trilogy is pretty much the best movie trilogy of all time. It's more consistent than The Godfather, for example. It's more consistent than Lord of the Rings. I mean, Lord of the Rings kind of sags in the middle. And also, Toy Story 3 did that thing that all the best kids or family films do. It played to a wide range of ages, and it said different things to different audiences. The kids were entranced by the exciting visuals and the story, whereas adults were full of tears for the fact that in the end, the film is about them and their relationship with their children. Now, I am still very, very firm on it being better in 2D than 3D, but Toy Story 3 was a wonderful movie whichever way you saw it, but not number 2, number 3, because a late entry at number 2, my second favourite film of 2010, Of Gods and Men. The film played at the Cannes Film Festival where I missed it. As I've said to everybody, if you want to have a film playing in Cannes and you want the film to win awards, make sure Kermode isn't in town, because they always play the best films the day before I come or the day after I leave. And I saw it late on in the year, and I was really sideswiped by just how good it was. An incredibly moving story of monks under threat. Some people have seen it as religious, some people have seen it as political. The director has a reputation for being incredibly grumpy, but it's a film which reminds you just how much a close-up on a face can be every bit as dramatic as a car chase or a rocket launch or an outer space flight. It's a film which is really about the human condition, whether you're religious or atheist. And it's also a film which demonstrates the power of understatement. I really was knocked out by it, and I'd recommend that you see it, if possible, in a cinema. All of which means, no surprises, number 1, Kermode's favourite film of 2010, straight in there from the moment I saw it, Inception. Why? Simple. Because Christopher Nolan has demonstrated that you can make a really expensive, really splashy, really exciting, really popular modern blockbuster without being stupid. Michael Bay, if you're watching this, pay attention. You know that idea that everyone has that the only way you can get a mass audience is to be thicker than them? Well, Christopher Nolan is out there proving you wrong. Christopher Nolan is treating the mainstream audience exactly the same way as he treated the art house audience who flocked to films like Memento. Inception is proof that people are not stupid, that cinema is not trash, and that it is possible for blockbusters and art to be one and the same thing. Avatar was never a great film. Inception is a masterpiece. Happy Christmas, and join me again next week when I'll be doing the bottom 5 worst films of 2010.